place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, safe not safe. Before you cross me, look both ways. Leaving the scene with no trace, none in my league. You out of place, I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, state to state.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Your host, your boy, George Mackay, back in the Straight Talk Studios. Now, when this episode drops, it's going to be April. That means the snow here in Canada is melting, the sun is shining bright, and wrestling is in full force because finally, Canada has woken up like the rest of the world, and we're learning just to go with the flow when it comes with COVID. And this one's special because I got somebody who I'm a big fan of, a gentleman from one of my favorite promotions. That's the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, if you don't know. And he is, well, strictly business. Please help me welcome Thomas Latimer to Straight Talk Wrestling. How are you, sir?
Thank you, George. Appreciate you having me. I'm sorry that the weather's so lousy over there in Canada, but it's not that much better in Nashville, to be honest.
That's okay. We're going to get to those warm months. And you know, the cool thing is that now that NWA is like kind of back on the road, right? You're traveling from city to city and you guys are doing your thing. How's that been going kind of back into a full force travel schedule now?
It's not as hectic or as busy as we would probably like, but we've definitely been moving around. I mean, we were in St. Louis a few months ago, and then we were back in Atlanta at the GPB studios, and then we've been doing a few shows in Kentucky as well, which is great because it's just up the road from me. And then we've got the Crockett Cup on the 19th and 20th of this month in Nashville, which is ideal because that's where I live. So I get to be in my own bed every night that week. But yeah, we've got the 2 days of the pay-per-view and then I think 3 or 4 days of TV tapings after. So it's definitely picking up. I mean, it's night and day from how it was, a year and a half, 2 years ago when we kind of shut down over COVID. So, for me, I'm all about it. I want to be busy. I want to be wrestling,
Absolutely. I could totally understand. And the great thing about you is that you and I have been connected for a little bit of time because I actually had your better half on the show about a year ago, and she was fantastic. And one of the things we talked about was how this was just kind of in the midst of COVID starting. You guys were planning to go back to London, to England for Christmas. How was that experience traveling back overseas to see your family in the midst of everything just kind of starting?
Damn, did we even make it?
I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
I feel like we didn't make it. I know it's been about. So we just booked our flights for December.
Okay.
So first off, we're getting married in May. So my family are coming over for that. So fingers crossed that all goes swimmingly, and then we're going back in December because it's been about 3 years. So I want to say. Maybe we'd gotten home, I don't know, 6, maybe more months before COVID sort of kicked in. I know that I think when we got back, we had to go straight to when they were still doing stuff with the Ring of Honor, because I know that I'd gained like 30 pounds from eating all that great British chocolate when I got back, and then I had to go straight out. They didn't tell us, so we had to go straight back to TV, and I was like, oh, stuck on my hoodie, you know what I mean, the big belly hanging out, but yeah, no, I feel like we didn't make it home now. It's like I said, it's been nearly 3 years, so I'm desperate to get home and see everyone. Because I mean, it gets worrying the older you get. And I've been in the States for 13 years now, and when I really think about how much time I've spent with my family, since I moved here, it's minimal. And then after this sort of 3 years, it's even worse. I think, God, I'd hate anything more to, obviously the world's always in turmoil. There's always something ludicrous going on, but it does make me a bit uneasy because everyone's getting older. No one's getting any younger and fitter. You know what I mean? So I do want to spend a bit more time with my family, because you don't, life's short. You don't really realize.
Absolutely. No, you're right. Life is so precious, so short. I had some unfortunate starts to this year. Both my wife and I lost our grandmothers. I lost mine in January,
yeah.
Hers in February. So it's definitely been a trying time. But hey, 89 and 91, bless their hearts, great long lives. And
totally.
They passed on a lot of great knowledge to us that we're now passing on to our kids. So you got to take those, you got to roll with the punches in certain ways and take the good and the bad. But you mentioned getting married in May. Now that's going to be awesome. My question for you, will the missus be rocking the NWA World Championship walking down the aisle? If that was me, I would let her. I would totally let her. I'd be like, that's so cool, man.
No, I mean, well, you know, hopefully she'll still be a retaining champion by that point. I'm sure that she probably will be, but you know, I don't know. I feel like I don't really know how much wrestling I want to encroach on that day. You know, so if she really wanted to do it, I'd let her do it, but I'd give her a funny look.
For sure, absolutely.
I think she'd give me a funny look if I let her, to be honest.
Yeah, but, hon, I'm gonna do this. Oh yeah, okay, all right. I guess. I mean, it's your day too. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
you're not gonna try to talk me out of this. What's wrong with you? So, you know, mentioning weddings, one of my favorite promos of yours was from October 2021. It's right when kind of Strictly Business, the first version, imploded, and you and Camille and Chris Adonis, you guys kind of walked away from Nick Aldis. And then you cut that great promo where you had that real touch of realism from mentioning his being his best man to talking about being in his home with his son, and then that real like intense moment at the end where you said, you know, Nick, you're gonna have to tell your son sorry that you're a loser and Uncle Tom whooped his ass. How much fun is it to cut promos like that and be able to have that creative freedom to bring in a little bit of the real world into those kind of moments, because don't they make it so much more intense?
That's one of the good things about the NWA, and even really Impact. It was kind of the same way a little bit. They would let you. WWE, I never got to the point with them where I could look at the, you know, huge handbooks of you know, script that I guess that they give guys or whatever, and you've got to recite someone else's verbiage, someone else's thoughts, someone else's you know, words that you might not use. I mean, I'm not, you know, Nick is a lot more verbally intelligent than me. You know, when it comes to sort of, you know, say I can't even think of the words now to describe words, but you know, he's got that vocabulary and I sort of don't. So it's kind of like, you know, for me, I definitely need to, if it's sort of a bullet point or I need to get something across, I need it to sort of be something that I would organically say. You know, which is kind of tough, especially when you're trying to portray a character. But I mean, like the NWA and like I said, to a degree, and TNA while I was there, they'd sort of like let you, you know, sort of they'd give you the bullet points or whatever you needed to get across, and the rest was kind of up to you. And especially even more the NWA, it's it'll just be you put a promo on him. And that's that. You're left to sink or swim, which is a good and a bad thing. I think that realism and being able to use things that are real life really help, because you need some level of emotion that you can connect with. You know, I've been friends with him forever, and you know, best man at his wedding, you know, Mickey forever, like constantly around the family, you know, so it makes it does make it a lot easier to sort of turn you know, something that is not reality based, you know, to try and turn it into reality in your mind. For me, I'm always sort of you know, promos aren't my strongest. You know, it definitely something I get nervous about and worry about, and I never used to. You know, cut promos at Wembley Arena, and you know, all sorts for TNA. And I remember being nervous, but I don't know if it's the older I've got, or you know, sort of just evolving and getting older, and sort of looking back on you know, sort of the last 15, 20 years. I sort of like never really used to sort of care, and you know, I wouldn't care what anyone thought, and I was against the world. And now kind of like my attitude on life and the whole outlook on everything has changed. So I take a lot more stuff to heart that I would never normally, you know, care about. So promos, like, they're always something that I, you know, I always want them to go as well as they can, but it's definitely not something that I'm, you know, the most comfortable with. So whenever I can have a opportunity to talk about and, you know, feel like it's real, that helps me a lot more. I'm kind of the guy that I prefer to scream and yell my promos like the guys in the 80s, the 90s. That's just how I feel. I feel comfortable doing that. It's something that I feel that my character would do. But I know that in today's wrestling world, you're supposed to have a conversation like this, which I get. But at the same time, like, if no one else is screaming, then, you know, it makes you stand out, I guess.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. That does make you stand out. And it, how can you not scream like those guys back in the 80s and 90s did when you're standing at the NWA podium? Like, if I was in your shoes, I'd be screaming every promo. If it was just like, I'm happy to be here. I mean, you're standing on hollowed ground. Like, if you weren't screaming a promo at that podium, I'd be like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's going on with Tom right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
He's not giving me that intensity that I need.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that was sort of drilled into me when I was in developmental, was sort of the aggressiveness and the yeah, just the general I just never really. When I was wrestling in the UK, I'd, you know, be a baby face a lot of the time, and if I was a heel or a bad guy, I would, you know, it was like a different level. When I got there, I realized that, and that sort of helped guys get signed to around that time, was being aggressive, like guys like Drew and Sheamus and all those guys were going there kicking 10 bells of crap out of each other, and then Finley and everyone else would see that and go, "Oh, okay, this is good. We can do something with that." And so I kind of figured out from then, okay, I've got to get aggressive. I've got to get, you know, mean and have that intensity. And then being trained under Bill DeMott, Bill really helped get that out of me, and Ryan too, and sort of you know, in that time, and I just managed to keep that aggressiveness and the intensity and rolled with it, you know, and that's something that I've always tried to keep. It comes in waves. I feel like I probably was a bit more aggressive back in the day, but it just, I don't know, it helps me be someone else. And it can also cover a lot of, as long as you're aggressive and intense, it doesn't matter if you mess up a promo. It doesn't matter if the wrestling move wasn't fluid and smooth and ballerina-esque. You know, it's supposed to look rough. It's supposed to be a fight. It's supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to wonder, is this real or not? And I always think that the aggressiveness and the intensity sort of covers a lot, and it means you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff too. And, you know, it helps me. If I was watching me, I want to believe that person is nuts. I want to believe that he's a sadist. I want to believe that he's angry at the world. I want to believe all those things. And if that intensity isn't there, whether it be promos or in the match, and I can't see that on that guy's face, then I don't believe it. And if I don't believe it, then I don't want to watch it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, fully understand you. And that's one of the things I love about the NWA. I love that classic feel that brings me back to my childhood, but it's got that little polish on it from like the modern era. And I think that the NWA has been great with guys like yourself, guys like Nick, guys like even Chris, who you know, again, had WWE moments, well, not so much Nick, but had the WWE experience, if you will. And then now they became this other side of them where I could see that they're having fun. What's it been like working with Chris and seeing, you know, who he used to be, the guy that would go out and just sit someone in a chair and try to put him in a master lock, to now just being this force that he always could have been?
Chris is phenomenal. I love watching him work. I love being around the guy. Like, he's truly an awesome guy. And like I said, I could watch him work all day. He's what a wrestler should be and should look like. And he's got it down as a science now. What's wild, and I was telling him this, I don't know, a couple of tapings ago, was I remember when I was 18. So, and bear in mind, Chris is only 2-3 years older than me. Maybe he's only 2 years older than me. And I'm 18. I'm a skinny, pasty white kid in the UK. And I'm up drinking with my buddies watching WrestleMania. It's, I think it's like him and Carly. I can't remember which, it could have been WrestleMania 20. I can't remember. Maybe a little bit after that. And I'm watching Chris on there, right? Bearing in mind, he's only 2 years older than me. And I'm this skinny little kid who's never barely been in the gym, just started wrestling. And I'm watching him, and I'm thinking he's a 40-year-old grown adult. You know what I mean? And the guy is just 2 years older than me. And when I think back to those times, I go, wow, like, there's no way you could have taken me, even if you added 2 years to that age that I was then, and put me in his shoes. There's just no way, you know. It sort of blows my mind that he was only 2 years older. But there's a lot of guys like that, Rene Dupree and, you know, Cody and all these guys, you know, I think, wow, like, I could never have done what they've managed to achieve and accomplish, especially at that age. Now at 35, I could deal with that and just the stress and everything else, but it just blows me away. I can't believe that Chris was. Like I said, I'm watching him with my friends, wishing that I was there. And to me, he's a grown adult, even though he's only 2 years older than me. I didn't know that at the time. At WrestleMania, like, blows me away. You know, what's funny about Chris too is he looks younger now than he did 20 years ago, you know.
You're 100% right about that.
Yeah, that's why I probably thought he was 40 years old when he was like, 22 or something.
That's amazing. Oh man, he must have been like, I'll take the compliment, Tom, but it's kind of hurtful that you thought I looked like double my age then.
I told that to his face, but he'd understand. He'd totally know that. You know what I mean? It's funny how it kind of works. Nick's the same way. Like, he looks better now. He does, in his 30s than he did when he was 18. Chris is a pleasure to be around. He's a hell of a talent. I love. He's definitely one of the reasons why I want to keep Strictly Business together for as long as we possibly can, is because I love Chris so much and I just want to be around him all the time.
Yeah, I want Strictly Business to stay together for as long as possible too. I think you two and Camille, I think you guys are just rock solid. I gotta ask though, Camille, I mean, I having a conversation with her myself, I know she's such a sweetheart, but on camera, man, when she goes stone cold, it runs a chill down the back of my spine. I feel like she just could stare right through me into my soul. Like, you ever look back and be like, damn, girl, like, just smile, just chill.
I live with her, so I get one of those looks at least twice a day.
And I guess you're used to him now. You're like, that's okay. I know.
I just run as quickly as I can, jump in the car and get out of there.
And then you come back a little bit later with some good food. And then she probably's like, all is forgiven.
Well,
right?
that could go either way, couldn't it? Because if she's dieting hard, that'll get me heat too. So, you got to tread careful.
So you mentioned you're not a barbecue guy. That kind of throws me for a little bit, because I mean, you're talking steaks, you're talking chicken, you're talking protein. That's like, you guys got to live off that pretty much. You need the protein to keep the muscles going. So I mean, if you're not a go-to barbecue guy, I mean, do you miss some of the food that you can't get here that you could get back home, like fish and chips, stuff like that? Do you miss that stuff? Because I know over there it's top notch compared to North America. We can't touch it with a candle. We know this.
Definitely fish and chips, because I mean, you can get things that are slated as fish and chips, but it's not. It's just not. And then there's another few things here, which is a good and a bad thing, because I've got a real bad chocolate problem. That's my not new. I've had this chocolate problem since I was a kid, but I mean, that is now my drug of choice. And in the UK, you get Cadbury and you get Galaxy. And over here, they've started doing Cadbury, but it's not. It's made by Hershey's, so it's the wrong ingredients. It doesn't taste anything like the stuff from the UK. And it's the same as Dove. It's called Dove here, but in the UK, it's called Galaxy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's the Mars company or someone that makes that, but the chocolate is just the best. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. So the closest things that I can kind of find here that are pretty good is like Lindt, but that's the one thing that you can't get here. So right now Doug Williams is coming over for the Crockett Cup, and I've already put my order in with Doug. I'm like, leave all your clothes, just pack out your luggage full of as much chocolate as you can. And then I've got a lady friend coming over, Fiona, and she's doing the same thing right now. So they're both just hoarding chocolate for me in their suitcases to bring over, because you can't get it here. So, so like I said, it's a good and a bad thing, because I can't be eating it. But at the same time, that's the one thing that I wish America had a bit more of a grasp on. In the UK, it's such a big thing. Like, chocolate is everywhere and everyone eats it. And you go anywhere and it's being sold, and it's all pretty much good stuff. And unfortunately, the Hershey's and all that kind of stuff, it's just not the same. And I guess it's funny though, because the longer I'm here, the more I'll get used to eating that kind of stuff. And before I know it, I've kind of disassociated it. And the second I eat English chocolate again, I'm like, oh, how could I eat that? It tastes like cat vomit. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it's just really fish. So as far as English stuff, just fish and chips really, and and chocolate. That's it. I mean, all the rest of the food here is really good. Barbecue is kind of one of those weird things. It's like, I like barbecue, don't get me wrong, but if I'm going to cheat, then I don't want meat. You know, if I'm going to cheat, it's got to be burgers. It's got to be, even though I know it's meat, but still bread. It's got to be pizzas. It's, you know, it's all the stuff that you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, it's like when I went and got the barbecue the other day, you know, I had to get barbecue nachos because it had all the cheese and all the rest of the crap that's on it, you know what I mean? Like, nachos, a big Doritos fan too, so but and I'm a big ice cream fan.
I'm right there with ice cream, but nachos for me is something I justify myself as the 4 food groups. You get everything in one, so I say, listen, I'm eating so healthy
terrible
right now.
Terrible. You know, they put coleslaw on it too, and I'm like, at least I'm getting me veggies, you know.
Yeah, there you go. And you're a big ice cream fan. This is an interesting question, because this is kind of like breaking news. What kind of ice cream does 1/2 or 1/3 of Strictly Business love to get into on those cheat days?
It's always the same too. Even if I don't know why I can't seem to buy anything else, I won't eat anything else. It's always been mint choc chip. I'm a mint choc chip guy, so that's what I get every time. It doesn't matter where I go, what I do, or how good someone else might say this other ice cream is. It's like just a weird ingrained thing in me that I'll always have the same thing. So that's what I'll do. So there's like a creamery, which is another terrible place for me too. That's around the corner. Well, it's a bit further. You can't walk there, thank goodness. But I'll go in there and they, you know, or I'll go get, you know, 4 or 5 McFlurries. Right now they're doing like an Oreo one with like green stuff in, I guess, for the Shamrock, the Irish thing. Yeah, so it's weird. It's like the green doesn't even taste of anything, but I'm like, give me 4 of those. So, you know, it's I like ice cream, but you know, all that stuff. It's just because I can't have it a lot. So when I do, the problem is I tend to just go overboard. You know, we all do.
Oh, 100%. Listen, I can tell you right now, I'm a man that has not missed any meals, and I know this, and I wear it like a badge of honor, 100%.
Oh, it's great.
Like your location for your house was around all these good places. Was that
a
selling feature?
Well, there's a crumble cookies around the corner. Everything there's 2 McDonald's within a mile. So I guess it's kind of like this everywhere you go now in America, isn't it? They've got it down to a science. But it's even the gas stations, their donuts are great. Like, it's not. It didn't take me long to figure out where everything was. Put it that way. You know.
That's awesome. So you live in Nashville, you live in Tennessee now. That's kind of the home base. Are you a big country guy? Has country music grown on you?
No, I know that I have to dance to that for Kaylee chose. She'll kill me because I can't remember the name of it, but it was she gave me a choice of 2 sort of country, you know, love songs that we have to boogie to on the day. So both of them are not down my alley at all. It's not my kind of music now. So I'm a deathcore, screamy kind of guy. So but it's the wedding, so I don't think her parents would appreciate any pig squeals on the big day. So that's that. My mum, however, though, she's a bit of a metalhead too, and she I guess for the son mother dance or whatever, because they don't do that stuff in the UK, so it's quite an American thing. But she sent Cradle of Filth and Amphetamine to Kaylee to be like, hey, can me and Tom dance to that? I'm like, I don't think that's gonna fly, Mum. I don't think we're in the Bible Belt. We're doing it in Durham, North Carolina. I don't think they want to listen to Cradle of Filth.
No, definitely not.
No.
That's your mom's heart, though. That's
I
awesome.
know, bless her. She's trying, so I think she's ended up going with the Lighthouse Family or something like that. I'm like, that'd be better, Mum. You know what I mean?
A little easy listening. I got it.
We can't have Danny Filth screaming at the top of his lungs. You know, it's not going to be a good look for you. Especially this is the first time since they're going to meet my mum, so I think she's nuts, won't they? So.
Yeah, I guess first impressions are always best. Once you get past the initial stage, you know what? Before you know it, the wedding will be done. You guys will be at the reception, and you'll see your mom powwowing it up with your father-in-law, and next thing you know, your dad is coming over. He's playing Cradle of Filth in the car. Won't that be a surprise, eh?
I tell you, if that did, I mean, I would give you $1 million, dude, because that will never happen.
No, it would never happen. But
I bet you all the money I have.
listen, Tom, we could dream, can't we? We can dream the little dreams.
Totally, yeah. No, I mean, that would blow my mind.
Well, listen, fingers and toes crossed that your mom can hook your father-in-law on Cradle of Filth. I'm praying for it. I'm hoping for it.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll come back to it. We'll circle back to this after it's happened, and we'll see. But my money's on now.
Fair enough. Great. Let's talk about another one of my favorite matches with you, Strictly Business versus the British Invasion. Nick Aldis calling for backup, going back home, bringing an old friend across, and you guys had that awesome tag match, which I still love. I even watched it last night in preparation of this interview because I love it so much. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the NWA product. How was it, doing that dance with Chris as your partner, Nick staring across from you, all those moving parts in that ring together? I mean, that match to me was poetry in motion. I thought it was great. I thought it was phenomenal.
That's very kind. It's always tough. I mean, I think there might have been, I can't remember how many days I was into TV, so you're always kind of tired and beat by that point. You do a lot in a short amount of time, so those days are really draining. So I can't remember what day it was or what the case was, and we'll have other things to do that day. A few matches, few promos, whatever. So there's a lot going on. You're sort of drained before the evening even starts, and then of course you've got the crowd there, which isn't the biggest, and they really do try. Bless them to keep the energy up, but at the same time too, it's not like there's not 12,000 people there, so you know what I mean. So you do feel the bumps and bruises a lot more. But as far as going in there, I mean, me and Nick, we always love wrestling each other. It's a night off when we get to do that. It's the same with Doug too. I've had the privilege of wrestling Doug in Germany and Austria and the UK. We've wrestled a bunch already, and so it's always a pleasure getting in there and rolling around with him, and then of course with Chris. So it's really good. I mean, obviously breaking kayfabe, but we're all close, so and we're all pros, so it's something you don't need to worry about. You sort of toss a few ideas around and go do it. So those kind of, I always like them because there's always pressure, but I mean, it's a different sort of pressure. You're in the ring with pros, so it's gonna go one way, and that's good. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of different and you get spoiled sometimes. Like, I've generally always been around such talented people, or be it TNA or NWA or whatever. So when I do go back out on the indies and, I do wrestle other people that, are maybe green or they've not been around for as long, or, it's a bit more challenging then, just because you got to have your wits about you, because a lot of people talk the talk, and they'll talk like they know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly what you mean, and they'll be there for this and they'll be there for that. And then as soon as you lock up with them, you go, oh no, you could have just been honest with me. Like, unless these people are just delusional and they honestly think they're really good. So you do get sort of sucked in this false sense of reality sometimes, and so you go, oh, it's going to be one of those matches. Okay, I'm going to have to dig down deep here and get this person through it. And so that you do get, like I said, you do get spoiled a little bit with the sort of talent that we get to be around with the NWA, just because these are guys that have been, one way or another, whether it be WWE or TNA with, from Brodus to trying to think, Sam Polinsky, Corey Graves' brother. These are all guys that I've been around with, and that, we've passed each other as we do this for the last, 12, 13 years. So it's like I said, it's a night off, and getting there with Nick and Doug, it's just always, like I said, the pressure's on, but it's really not. It's a night off. And when you're a bit older and you're a bit more beaten up, they're the kind of matches that they're the kind of ones that you gravitate towards, like, give me those kind of matches.
Gotcha. Billy comes to you and says, all right, listen, Tom, today we're going to do this, and it's going to be you and Nick. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Call me when it's time to go out. I'm good.
yeah, totally. It's like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, you know what? You keep mentioning older. You're only 35. You know, I'm 38. If I shave this off, I look like I'm 12, but this is the only thing that makes me look like an adult because I can't grow what you can grow. You probably wake up and it's like 5 o'clock shadow at like, 4 in the morning. I wake up, this takes like days to grow in. Okay.
That's a good thing. It's
Yeah.
I'm years of going on the sunbeds and years of I'm an ex-alcoholic, and all that stuff's taking its toll. And then the wrestling too, and not looking after your body, and so that stuff catches up with you quick. So it's kind of like at 30, that's when my body went, oh, I don't like this anymore. Now at 35, I recently had the nerves burnt in my lower back. I've had back problems for about 8 or 9 years now. And so it's kind of like at some point there'll probably have to be a spinal fusion on the table. So I'm kind of trying to put that off. But, I had the nerves burnt. A friend of mine hooked me up and got me seen. And so they burnt my nerves, and it's supposed to last 9 months. It lasted me 3 weeks before the pain was back. And then me and Nick wrestled at the Power Trip. And I think it aired this week, and it airs on YouTube this Friday. It was an I Quit match, and I took a bad fall through the table, and so it was all my back, all on the concrete, and I couldn't walk after it. And Kaylee had to help me out of the car and put me in bed. And then what kind of sucked even worse was I was booked in for a tattoo the next day, and so I was supposed to sit through 5 or 6 hours of it. I literally laid there for 2 hours and went, I give up, brother. I can't take anymore, just because there was so much pain from the night before going through that table. So it's just one of those things. I'm not 18 anymore, and as much as the mind is willing and I feel like I can do it or whatever, like I'm slowing down, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like everyone has their own sort of health life bar. Like Jeff Hardy's like a guy that's still somehow he's in pretty good shape, and his body's like made of rubber. He's not. And there's some other people that have been around, like Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat's son, Richie, and Brett DiBiase, and all these guys that were like second, third generation, and they tapped out after a couple of years because their bodies couldn't handle it. So it's kind of like you've got everyone's got their own sort of how much they can put up with and how much they can take. And I'm definitely getting towards that point where I have to think at some point about. It's not, there's no massive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for me. I built my bridge to times have changed. I've been in trouble for some stuff in the past that nowadays, not that it would be, but I'm never going to be looked at in a positive light. So I understand that, you know what I mean? Like me going and wrestling at WrestleMania and making a big payday will never happen. I'm not delusional and thinking that it will. So at some point I have to go, when is enough? Because, I want to be able to walk at 45. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a cripple at 45 and broke. You know what I mean? Like, so right now we're sort of in that sort of spot where we're sort of weighing up what is next. And, because, at any point it can sort of come to a head. But I'm definitely not delusional when it comes to the fact that my body it's on the end of its health bar now. So I need to, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. It's just part of the wear and tear. And what's funny is I remember looking, like when I was a kid and I was 18, 19, wrestling on the camps in the UK, I remember looking up to guys. One of my friends is a bit of an old timer. He'll take offense to that, but his name was Frankie Sloan. Even Robbie Brooks said, and I remember seeing these guys sort of limp around and wander around, and they probably back then were in their 40s or whatever. And I remember sort of being in awe with them, thinking, God, like, I can't wait till I'm beaten up like them, and I've traveled the world, and I've done this, and I've done that. And, it's kind of like a badge of honor. And I was looking at those guys limping around, being cripples, and thinking, I can't wait to be like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just had this sort of weird sense of like pride, like, I can't wait till I've got to that point. And now I'm like, I don't want anything to do with it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like this weird sort of mentality that I had. Like for me now, it's definitely just about trying to remain as healthy as I can. and yes, and just, you know, and being smart with it, because like I said, you know, I'm sure that when I'm 60, if I get to, you know, my 70s or 80s or whatever, I'm sure I'll still have this sort of younger mindset. I'll probably still be listening to metal music. You know, I'll probably still have my belly button pierced. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, probably still be getting tattoos. But I mean, at the same time, the body isn't the same. You know what I mean?
I absolutely do know what you mean, and you're right. Everybody kind of has that life bar where they get to that next step. And have you thought about the next step past wrestling? Any interest that you may want to dabble to once you know that kind of once you do have to hang up your boots?
No, no, it's no. There's I tried looking into doing realtor stuff. Kaylee got a realtor's license, and I tried to sit down and go through. At the same time, I was landscape gardening and doing other things that was just killing me. But I mean, it was definitely something that you know, you've got to have a lot of brain power and brain function to be able to pass that test. So I was kind of like, so I don't know. I mean, you know, somehow I've always been able to land on my feet generally. So I'll figure it out when I kind of need to. At the same time, too, I don't want to, you know, I feel like if I start diving that hard into it, then I'm not going to be committed to this, you know, and I feel like I've given enough of my life to this. I've got to see it out. And then once I feel that that's enough, then I'll step back and fully figure out what it is that I would do. But it's definitely a daunting thing, just because you spent your whole life doing one thing. You don't really put much time and care into doing anything else. And so, and you are trying to figure out what you enjoy or what you can do. And I've always made money with my body, and that's not going to last forever. So it's definitely something that, it's a conversation that I'm having more and more with my old man. Something that he's definitely talking about more and more, because I think every time I talk to him, I'm like, oh, Dad, you know, I hurt this and that. So it's it's definitely something that I need to sort of think about. But you know, there's not a lot of things that I'm that passionate about, and you've got to find something that you have to find a middle ground. You know what I mean? Like, I would really struggle to just be doing something, and we all have to do it, and it probably will be something that I'll have to do, but it's definitely something that I would prefer to have a slight enjoyment with what I was doing, rather than it just be for a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Passion. You gotta have that passion to want to do it.
Gotta have something. So I'd figure it out, and I'm sure it would be in sort of the gym, the health supplements, it would be sort of in that sort of nutrition, things like that, that I sort of, that have a bit of, you know, that have more of an understanding than most people, and some passion. You know, I'm a big fan of music, but that's never been something that I wouldn't, you know, and that's another sort of, it's taken me this long to get to this point in wrestling. I ain't even going to bother trying music, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'll just be I'll be a greeter in Walmart or something like that, and just make old people happy. You know, I'm okay with that.
Hey, that's a great job. You know what? You mentioned music. When I was a kid, I was big into like hip hop, Eminem, Dr. Dre. Those were my guys. Like anything that Shady Aftermath did, 50 Cent, I was all over it. And my parents were like, you know, I don't understand any of this. I'm like, don't worry about it. You don't have to understand. It's my generation. It's like, it's what I'm into.
Yeah.
You know, think about this one day. You're going to be driving your kids somewhere, and these songs are going to come on the oldie station, like our 50s and 60s music did. And you're going to be scratching your head going, this is crazy. And then it happened to me, Tom, literally the other day. I was picking
I believe it.
School, and all of a sudden, all I hear is, hey, you're listening to Z103, and here's a throwback from Eminem. Hi, my name is 1998. And I'm like, oh, no. And then I picked my 12-year-old daughter up, and she's into, like, Billie Eilish, and she's into all this, like, you know, Ariana Grande and all this stuff. And she's like, Dad, who's this? I'm like, this is Eminem before the Eminem you know. This is, like, the first version of Eminem. She's like, God, he sounds like he's 14 years old. I go, actually, he was in his 20s when he made this. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to justify it to you. And then I'm like, man, my parents were right, and it sucks. It sucks so much.
Yeah, totally. It does. I went to go see that new Jackass film a couple of weeks ago with Kaylee, you know, and I grew up on that stuff, MTV and Jackass, and they're all old dudes. They're all in the, you know, the 50s and stuff. And I'm going, God, I'm only just behind them. You know, like it's harrowing, isn't it? You know, like It doesn't take long before you're out the loop. And I think about that a lot. I think, especially like now, you know, with the way technology is and everything, like for a while, I had a job driving people to their hospital appointments, and I'd, you know, pick up old people and take them around and stuff. And and I remember it being such a struggle for, like, one lady, she's in a wheelchair, and I would like help her. I would, even though I shouldn't have, I would go out and help her. Like, I'd take her past the barbers or whatever, so she could nip in there to be able to talk to him or whatever, right? 'Cause she didn't have a decent phone. And I just think, and it'll be the same for us too. But luckily you've got a kid, so she'll be able to kind of smarten you up. But it's not going to be long before, because I mean, if you're an old person now, how do you order a taxi? How do you order a pizza? All these things, unless you've got a phone and you know what you're doing, it's all changed, doesn't it? It's all happened like that. So we're gonna be doomed. You know what I mean? Like, I struggle to figure out stuff now. So in 10 years, you know, yeah, it's wild, isn't it? So, but like I said, luckily you've got a little one, so she can be like, "Oh, Dad, you're an idiot. This is how you do it." So you'll be all right.
Exactly. You got the eye roll down to a science, man. You've been hanging out with her, trying to see how, like, she's got that spot on her and my wife. That's the thing that drives me to, like, my core. I'm surrounded by women here, Tom. My dog's a girl. I have 2 daughters, my 12-year-old who you met, and my 5-year-old, and then my wife. I have no other, like, there's no testosterone in my house whatsoever. The dog doesn't like me. My 5-year-old is always jumping on me like I'm a personal pillow. And now my 12-year-old's in the stage where she comes and goes, comes out of her room only to eat and do interviews, and then goes back upstairs and closes the door. So
you're still cool though. You won't be. You won't. That will go soon as well. Unfortunately, there'll become a point where she won't want to do this with you, and you'll be really uncool. And then give it about 5 or 6 years, then you'll be cool again.
Yeah. I'll be vintage cool, because that's what it is now. It's all about being vintage and chic and all this other stuff.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? No. Me and Kaylee aren't planning on having any kids, so I had this conversation, in fact, with my dad the other day as well. But it's something that if it happens, then so be it. But I don't know. It's not like there's we're not in this. I mean, I know we're kind of in a weird little war thing going on right now, but it's not like we're in World War II and there's not like bombs about to drop over our heads. But it's such an unsettling world that we're in, with mental health and just the weirdness of the world. And I just think, as much as I would love a kid and to be able to see the traits that the kid would, pick up from me and from my dad, because it's amazing the things that I do and say now that my dad did that I never thought I would. I'm turning into him. It's the weirdest thing. And so I kind of like be interested to see all that kind of stuff. But I also feel it'd be kind of selfish for us to bring something, someone that didn't ask to come into the world and then have to deal with all this. I mean, I can barely deal with it, and I'm, a grown adult. So, you know what I mean? It's just a weird time where it's kind of like, if it happened, it happened, but it's definitely not something that we're not sprinting, we're not sprinting to bed to get that done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. 100%, I do. I completely do.
Just a weird time, man.
Absolutely. One more question, I'm going to let you go, but this has been one amazing conversation. And before I ask my final question, I want to let you know, sir, you are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. Anytime you want to do this again, man, it would be my honor to have you back.
Hit me up, George. Yeah, check in every so often and find out what I'm doing. You let me know, and I'm game for it. Sorry if I end up on rants. I don't talk to many people, so.
No, this has been awesome, man. It feels like we're 2 old friends catching up, so I've had a blast. It's because of the Scottish side of me. I got a little UK. I'm half Italian, half Scottish, but I look more Scottish than I do Italian. So
you just gotta get more sunbeds. That's all.
Yeah, you're right. I gotta get. I didn't get the olive oil skin.
Then you can have a face. Then you can have a face like mine that looks like leather.
My final piece of advice. My final question is that
piece of advice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a piece of advice.
Yeah. Don't go on the sunbeds. I got it.
My final question to you is: if there's a young man or young girl watching this show and they're thinking about getting into this crazy world that is wrestling, what would be the one piece of advice you'd pass on?
So when I was a kid, I remember telling my parents I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I knew in my heart I was going to do it. I don't know how, but this little idiot kid from Chesterfield was going to get signed by WWE, and he was going to get to America, and he's going to live in the place he always wanted to live, right? And I don't know why, but in my mind, I knew I was going to make it, right? Even though I shouldn't have made it, and I shouldn't have got to any of the points that I managed to, really. But I mean, it was definitely being determined, and what's the word?
Perseverance, passion.
Yes, being consistent and just constantly never taking no as an answer. Like, I tried out for WWE for 5 years before they finally signed me. I didn't think I was ever going to get signed. Like, everyone would get signed except for me, and all these things would happen to all my friends. And me and Nick tried out for the UK version of Gladiators. He got it and I didn't. It just felt like I was never going to get a break, but I just never gave up. So the one, perseverance and never giving up. And then my parents as well, when I told them, they obviously laughed at me, and so did everyone else as well, thinking that you're not going to get to America, you're not going to be a pro wrestler, you're not going to do any of these things, which I don't blame them. I'd have done the same thing if my son, if he told me something like that, I'd probably laugh at him too, so they made me go to catering college for 2 years. And so even though I never used it, I went and I got something, between the ages of 16 and 18, that if the wrestling wasn't going to work out and I had no options, I could fall back on being a chef. And luckily I never needed to use that, but it was something that I did. So, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a fallback, like mine was there just in case, but sometimes you kind of need one just to, just in case. And also if you need to appease someone, and maybe it'll help them take you a little bit more seriously. Sometimes you don't want to fall back, because if you put all your eggs in that one basket, you've got no other option but to see it through, But I mean, I feel like that kind of helped me a little bit. At least I knew that, hey, if the wrestling was going to work out, and I was going to make it work, but if it wasn't, then I had something to fall back on. So definitely having something to fall back on, which is kind of taking to me this point in my life where now I don't have anything to fall back on later on in life, so that's definitely something that you want to make sure that there's something that you can do before and after this, because this doesn't last forever. I always thought I was going to make money. I always thought I was going to be popular, and these things don't. You come and go. You're a hot flavor of ice cream one week, and then no one wants to taste you after that. It's kind of how it is. So I mean, fallback plan. Never give up. And another thing too is like, look and act like a star, and go to the gym and do all the things that are in your control, right? Who's to say you're ever going to get signed by a big wrestling company or anything like that? But there's all these other things that you can do that you have control of. You have control over how you look, how you come across, how you dress. You can work on promos by yourself. You can take yourself to different schools and learn off different people, and you know what I mean. And then also as well, like, hang around with people that are on the up. Hang around with positive people that pull you up, because people that don't have aspirations themselves, and or are depressive people and all that, you can't grow off them, and you can't, you need people that is going to help raise you up. I saw, I was sort of around a lot of that, especially in my drinking days, and you don't need those kind of people around. And if you're trying to grow and evolve and become really good at something, you have to be around people that are going to help bring you up too. So there's a few things there. I mean, there's nothing really specific, but definitely not giving up is the main one, because I could have given up 20 times. And if I did even quit for a year and then I tried it again, and you keep throwing shit at a wall, eventually some of it will stick. There's my analogy for the day.
I like that. It's a great analogy, and it's a great way to end this conversation. Thomas Latimer, it was amazing to chat with you. And now I can say Thomas Latimer is my friend, and that's pretty damn cool. So before you go, please shout out your socials so everyone can kind of keep track on you and what you're doing in this wild, crazy world of wrestling.
I think my Twitter and Instagram are the same. I think it's at Thomas_Latimer_. We've just opened, me, Jerry Lynn, and some other guys have opened up a wrestling school, FXE, in Hendersonville, in in Tennessee, pretty much Nashville. So check that out. That's fxewrestlingnetwork.com if you want to come and get trained by the man himself, Jerry Lynn, and me. That's the place to go. It's like $1 million building. Like it's pretty cool. It's definitely not what I learned on when I was a kid. I learned on a few dirty mats on a concrete floor. This is a real facility. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm so I wish I had that when I was a kid, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, check that out. And other than that, just I guess NWA's on YouTube on Friday at midday, I think, and then I think every Tuesday a new episode airs on Fight too. So check out Fight, check out YouTube, and thanks for having me, George.
Subscription to Fight. I am a yearly subscriber. I love that annual subscriber. It's amazing.
Oh, that's great. Kaylee just bought it again. I need to really hit him up and be like, hey, give us the passcode, but we just end up buy it ourselves too. So
right on. Well, thank you very much, sir. Guys, that's it for this one. If you're interested in more conversations, click that subscribe link below. Help us grow. Help us keep bringing great guests like this on the show. As always, I'm your host, your boy. Peace, love, and wrestling. See you next time. Peace.
Cheers, George. Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode on all available podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. Also, check us out on YouTube at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And if you feel the need to buy some sweet merch, check us out on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Leaving the scene with no trace, not in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate.